name is Florence Keleku, but at the workplace, most people call me Nulasi. I am from Chiame and Safochi. I fry different types of gari. Myself, I am a farmer. I grow cassava, sweet potatoes, okra, vegetables, and those types of other products.
Meet Florence Keleku, a food processor who specializes in processing root tubers into gari. Gari is a common food item made from fresh starchy root tubers like cassava. It is used in preparing major diets by the people of Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Ghana, Cameroon, Guinea, and Liberia.
I have been in the normal gari business long before adding sweet potatoes in 2015. I started the gari business with my mom at a very young age before marriage, then later continued on my own. It's been almost 30 years now since I started normal gari.
Sweet potato, a storage root, has joined the family of root crops used in processing gari, and Florence has been learning and exploring the use of different varieties of sweet potato in making gari.
I use orange-fleshed sweet potato, purple-fleshed sweet potato, and the very common sweet potato in making gari.
Worldwide, sweet potato is the sixth most important food crop after rice, wheat, potatoes, maize, and cassava, with more than 105 million metric tons produced annually. 95% of this is grown in developing countries because it requires fewer inputs, less labor, and its growing conditions are marginal. Thanks to the Kofi Annan Foundation and AGRA for supporting the promotion of sweet potato in Ghana through the demand creation and impact scaling project for orange-fleshed sweet potato in 2017, which gave rise to the processing of sweet potato into gari and other products.
I always remember my grandmother because she preferred sweet potatoes to cassava. But because sweet potato required a lot of work, I made sure I wasn't around the house to help because of laziness as a child. Years on, then came the Kofi Annan Foundation to introduce orange-fleshed sweet potato to us. He showed us some videos about its uses. Realizing from the video that we could use sweet potato for gari, yakayake, bread, and many others made me miss my grandmother. One of us was sponsored to undergo a training abroad and returned to train us as well on sweet potatoes. Because of my experience with sweet potato from my grandmother, I was able to combine knowledge from the training and knowledge from what I observed my grandmother do, and it has really helped me to be able to use sweet potato for a variety of food items.
From receiving training on the cultivation and processing of sweet potato and resorting to the sweet potato knowledge Florence learned from helping her grandmother as a child, Florence started introducing sweet potato to her existing cassava gari customers.
I started marketing my sweet potato gari gradually by introducing the very common sweet potato variety to my already existing cassava gari customers. Then my children who were in the university by then took some to school and prepared gari soakings with it. They took pictures and shared it on their socials. From then, they started receiving orders from their schoolmates. I later introduced the orange-fleshed sweet potato gari, and then went on to introduce the purple-fleshed sweet potato gari. At this time, I was already making yogurt from the purple-fleshed sweet potato and didn't know the gari would do well as compared to the other varieties of sweet potato.
Purple-fleshed sweet potatoes are mildly sweet, wine-like in taste, drier and starchier than traditional sweet potatoes. They are a great source of vitamin, potassium, and fiber. There are over 25 varieties of sweet potato, with the most common ones being garnet, jewel, and Beauregard sweet potatoes. They have reddish orange skin and deep orange flesh. White sweet potatoes, they are rumbly with white flesh and golden brown skin. Okinawan sweet potatoes, known as purple sweet potato because of their high anthocyanin content, which is responsible for its purple coloring. Japanese or Satsuma sweet potatoes, they are sweet than other potatoes.
When I started, it wasn't easy. Even with all the experience, it is still not easy. But whatever you set your mind to do, regardless of the difficulty, you must find a way. Processing sweet potato into gari is very difficult. From buying or harvesting the sweet potato to beginning the gari making process, looking at the small sizes of sweet potatoes that have to be peeled one by one and the extra time it requires during the heat frying process.
Every single step in processing sweet potato into gari must be followed to the letter.
With the sweet potato, you have to wash the root crop and grind it. But before grinding, you have to soak it in water for a specific period of time. For instance, if you have to soak the root crop for 30 minutes, ensure it is 30 minutes exact, not a minute more, not a minute less. So after frying, you then sieve it and then package it into various forms and sizes.
In addition to processing sweet potato, Florence also nurses sweet potato seedlings for farmers to cultivate, and she offtakes the crops when they are ready for harvest.
I personally nurse the seedlings for the purple-fleshed sweet potato. I have about 16 farmers I give them to for cultivation. The seedlings can be cultivated for only 2 farming seasons. After the first farming season harvest, I will personally come to the farm and select the ones you can use in cultivating for the next season. I will have to nurse a new set of seedlings for the subsequent farming season. I also cultivate the seedlings, but not as much as I used to. I am more focused on the processing.
Processing sweet potato is a task that requires division of labor. You would need labor for different aspects of the process, but today it is difficult to come by reliable labor because although there are hundreds of unemployed youth, a job as tasking as processing gari is considered too much hard work.
Most of the youth are unwilling to work, but a few can endure if the work is difficult. For instance, the lady over there, if you can find about 10 of a kind, this work will not be that difficult. Whether rain or shine, regardless of whatever she is going through, she will want to show up, unless she is bedridden. Even with that, she makes an effort to show up because she is very concerned when there is work to be done.
Florence can as well process sweet potato into flour, an alternative ingredient for pastries.
Sweet potato want flour.
I process sweet potato into flour for making bread and other pastries. I also process cassava into flour for bread as well, including the starch from sweet potato for biscuits. These ones make bread that look purple in color, whereas cassava flour is whitish in color, but their breads are stuffy. This is sweet potato gari. This is also the purple-fleshed sweet potato gari, and this is the orange-fleshed sweet potato gari. This particular orange-fleshed sweet potato has the same color as the skin when peeled, but becomes yellow when it is mixed with cassava. To be unique, I also process turmeric and cassava into gari, as well as turmeric and sweet potato. I also process ginger gari, ginger cassava gari, and coconut cassava gari. I have several other variety of gari products, but these are the ones that I have packaged at the moment.
Sweet potato processing is not like any agribusiness venture where you can learn on the job. You will be doing yourself and your investment at this service.
Without proper training, you won't be able to process these crops into gari. It has higher moisture and starch content as compared to cassava. The high starch content makes the dry frying stage a very difficult task to accomplish.
Sweet potato needs a lot of delicate handling in order to process into gari because of its extreme high starch content.
Assuming I want to process 200 kilos of sweet potato into gari within a week, I can use the same effort and time to process 3,000 kilos of cassava into gari. Whilst it's easy processing 3,000 kilos of cassava into gari in a week, it's difficult to process 200 kilos of sweet potato into gari in that same week.
Unlike cassava gari, sweet potato gari processing requires a lot of patience because it can be time consuming, although worth every minute.
Unlike cassava, you can't just grind 2 bags of sweet potato at once. It will all become starch in the mill and would have to be disposed of. You would need to have time intervals between milling each bag.